be with everyone today. We could not be more excited at the home company about the amazing developments going on in the European markets. I'm very excited personally to be coming over the first part of May for our soft launch, if you will, and certainly we look forward to meeting and greeting everyone in person. For those of you who do not know me, certainly we look forward to getting to know everyone over the coming weeks and months. But my name is Stuart Titus. I'm a PhD. I have had a extensive career on Wall Street. I worked on Wall Street as a bond trader and underwriter for 11 years. And from there, I switched over into the field of physical medicine, physiotherapy, pain management, injury rehabilitation, earned a PhD degree along the way, had a wonderful clinical practice for a little bit over 20 years, treated a good number of patients, and over time found out a number of these great athletes that I was treating actually were using cannabis in one form or another to treat pain, help them with inflammation, help with sleep issues, and certainly this was something that I saw such a great number of these athletes utilizing cannabis. I decided to start see if there were any kind of medical cannabis symposium to see if there was any real science behind this. And when I did some of this research, I could not believe how tremendously well expressed throughout the medical community the research on these cannabinoids, or what would be called some extracts from the cannabis plant family and their potential therapeutic value. So a public company in the U.S. started back in March of 2009. This is our parent company, Medical Marijuana Incorporated, and here I became involved initially as an investor. 2 years after our inception, in March of 2011, a new group came in and gave us a whole separate direction. This group had been working on CBD and believing that we could grow a high concentration CBD and a hemp crop and possibly have products available on the nutraceutical markets that would improve people's overall levels of health and wellness. And certainly we were able to do this. At the end of the year 2011, we had our first products on U.S. and world markets in the spring of 2012. It's been a great ride and evolution ever since. And we've been able to start this great Canaway multi-level marketing company. And we've been very excited about the growth over the past few months and now our expansion into the European markets. Now, even our internal endogenous cannabinoid system in medical school, it's a fairly new concept in medicine, and thus people who come to our seminars and symposiums or other cannabis-based continuing medical education seminars can actually get a little bit of an education about this. But certainly there are many key concepts that I'd just like to provide a few of these for you today. Of course, the cannabis plant family, if you look at cannabis being the parent plant, we might then have two offspring. One would be hemp. Of course, there are a tremendous amount of industrial uses. Many of you in Europe know about all these amazing industrial uses. Of course, the fiber for textile purposes. Your hemp seed is extremely nutritious. And of course, hemp can also be grown for a very high concentration of the non-psychoactive cannabinoid called cannabidiol, or CBD, which is showing increasingly tremendous amount of awareness and interest among the pharmaceutical development community for its therapeutic application. Now, on the other side of cannabis, we also have marijuana, or plant that can be grown for its psychoactive effect. And here you have the psychoactive cannabinoid THC. So those are the two differences. Of course, THC has the psychoactive effect, and certainly some people are using this quite well throughout the world to help control things such as pain or help with sleep issues, etc. And certainly there's a tremendous black market going on throughout the world. Many countries are now starting to legalize the medical use of cannabis. Certainly Germany, about a year ago, legalized cannabis for medical use, and I believe recent news reports show that about 10 to 15,000 German citizens actually get cannabis covered from the German healthcare system. So this is certainly an exciting worldwide development, and we're obviously a part of this overall cannabis family, if you will, although our focus is really on the non-psychoactive, possibly what you might call the more therapeutic side. Now, getting into this endogenous cannabinoid system, this was a tremendous discovery back in the late 1980s. A couple of researchers, Dr. Alan Howitt at St. Louis University Medical Center here in the United States, discovered that we do have these amazing receptor sites within our bodies that do accept cannabinoids. And over time, the research has grown quite significantly on this endogenous cannabinoid system. Basically, and in short, this is the body's largest self-regulatory system, encompassing a great number of potential functions. Virtually every physiological function in the human body, in one way or another, is touched by this endogenous cannabinoid system. This system controls things such as your mood, your sleep, your appetite, your hormone production, your digestion of food, and even your metabolism. Certainly, we see this system, this very large self-regulatory system, basically regulates the overall balance or the homeostasis within us all. This endogenous cannabinoid system is present from day 16 of gestation in the developing fetus and is intimately involved in the development of the entire central nervous system. Now, our human bodies also produce our own internal endogenous cannabinoids. Generally, the production of these endogenous cannabinoids is very quickly degraded by enzymes and enzymatic activity. However, when we're doing things such as extreme exercise, like running a marathon, for example, we wind up with a tremendous amount of production of these endogenous cannabinoids, particularly the one called anandamide. And basically this production overcomes the tendency for enzymatic degradation, and this gives you the feeling of the runner's high, the amazing, blissful, euphoric feeling that these extreme athletes experience. And when anandamide was first discovered and named by Dr. Raphael McCollum, an Israeli-based researcher, he so named it anandamide because in ancient Sanskrit it means the bliss chemical. Also, mothers who are pregnant, of course, we know their body chemistry changes. And here again, the production of the body's internal cannabinoids actually overcomes, again, this enzymatic degradation tendency. And thus, the first food the mother feeds to the new child, the mother's breast milk, is very well expressed in cannabinoids. There's been some very interesting research at the U.S. government level that's led to a U.S. government patent. This would be U.S. patent number 6630507, or sometimes it's called the 507 patent. This research and the patent is titled Cannabinoids as Antioxidants and Neuroprotectants. This describes a wide range of potential therapeutic benefit. On your antioxidant, anti-inflammatory side, great potential benefit for your metabolic syndrome patients. This would include your heart disease, your cardiovascular risk, your diabetes, rheumatoid arthritis, even certain types of cancer are basic errors of the human body's metabolic functions. And certainly the anti-inflammatory, antioxidant properties of cannabinoids, and particularly CBD, have some tremendous potential effect for these patients and people with very elevated inflammatory markers. Now, on the neuroprotective side, the government patent mentions great potential benefit for your neurodegenerative diseases, things such as Alzheimer's, or Parkinson's, post-traumatic stress, PTSD, as it's called, multiple sclerosis. And of course, now we're seeing a tremendous body of what's called anecdotal evidence, just feedback and stories from various parents who have epileptic seizure children. And many of these parents are reporting significant decreases, and some parents even report that the seizure activity has completely stopped in many of these children. So interesting potential avenues for further research along these particular lines. Now, another interesting concept in cannabinoid or cannabis-based medicine is this concept of the entourage effect. And here, our cannabis plant, of course, contains a tremendous number of cannabinoids. Many of these are in trace form, and these are basic extracts from the cannabis plant family. And these cannabinoids, of course, have some interesting therapeutic value. Our products, of course, contain a very high concentration of the non-psychoactive cannabinoid called CBD or cannabidiol, but we also have other trace cannabinoids in our product. And then as well, there are things such as terpenoids and flavonoids, plant waxes, chlorophyll, and about 500 different chemical ingredients that all act synergistically to produce this magnified effect, or what's called the entourage effect. And it's interesting to note that the natural botanical product many times outperforms even the pharmaceutically developed version, which just takes one or two active ingredients and utilizes those for therapeutic application. So again, many people are getting much greater results with a natural botanical product. And of course, since it's a natural botanical product, really there aren't any particular side effects or any negative or any downside to this. Now, our endogenous cannabinoid system, getting back to this for just a minute, has a tremendous amount of receptor sites widely expressed throughout the body. A couple of well-known receptor sites, your CB1 receptors, widely expressed in the brain as well as in the spinal column of the central nervous system. Your CB2 receptors, basically in the gut, the viscera, the internal organs, help the body to regulate immune function. There are also what are called G protein-coupled receptor sites, very typically just particular receptor sites that accept cannabinoids. These receptor sites control the function of about 800 human genes, or 4% of our overall genomic sequence. There are other receptor sites called vanilloid pain receptors. Certainly this is why anecdotally many people are using cannabis and cannabis-based products to help treat pain. Certainly all our internal organs and our glands all have cannabinoid receptor sites. One other interesting concept I'd like to mention today is this developing concept going through the medical community of clinical endocannabinoid deficiency syndrome. And it's interesting to note that, of course, since cannabis has been eradicated from many parts of the world, and certainly our diets for the last 3.5 generations here in the United States, many of us are cannabinoid deficient. And a very famous cannabis researcher, Dr. Ethan Russo, back in 2003, came out with a paper that really describes some of his experiences with patients with these very difficult to treat conditions. Things such as fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, migraine headache, digestive disturbances, including inflammatory bowel syndrome. He mentioned that all of these patients were cannabinoid deficient. And once he started giving them plant-based cannabinoids, they all came to a much higher level of overall health and wellness. Very interesting, and certainly there's been additional research over the years to confirm this clinical endocannabinoid deficiency syndrome. Further on this topic, last year, April 2017, Stanford University in Palo Alto, California, came out with a very interesting paper that gave even more credence to this emerging concept of clinical endocannabinoid deficiency. Early onset of Alzheimer's and dementia is brought about by an endogenous cannabinoid deficiency. And certainly we believe that patients and people who want to maintain a nice level of overall health and wellness, 50 milligrams of CBD on a daily basis will support this very large self-regulatory system, the endogenous cannabinoid system. Now, we're kind of following in the footsteps of other very famous nutritional supplements, things such as vitamin C, which was discovered back in the 1930s, and it took vitamin C about 50 years before it was fully accepted by the medical community and had an actual recommended daily allowance, if you will. Certainly we believe we're on a much faster track, but just like vitamin C, at some point we believe there will be a recommended daily allowance for CBD products. First, because they're non-psychoactive, so they're much less controversial than CBD's cousin, THC. But certainly, to support this very large self-regulatory system, we truly believe that these plant-based cannabinoids are essential and vital nutrients necessary for the optimal health, wellness, and performance of the human body. So anyway, a good number of reasons for us to be taking CBD We're certainly excited about the wonderful products we have available in European markets. We look forward to expanding our line, and as time goes along, we certainly look forward to being in each and every European country, meeting people, shaking their hands, and hopefully imparting some good information and knowledge about our endogenous cannabinoid system and how we might be able to supplement this, get us all to a much higher level of overall health and wellness. Well, thank you so very much. Look forward to being in Europe very soon, and certainly we look forward to participating in many more events.